Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight on the Distinguished Black Gentleman Inc. show. I am your host, RJ Mack, and we're coming to you live on BlogTalk Radio. We're also coming to you live on Facebook. We're coming to you live on YouTube. This is an interactive show. We're glad you're joining us. Please feel free to join in the comments. You can always call in. Tonight's going to be a good show. We're doing a show on Post Partum and how it affects Black women. The Black women are left out of this conversation, so we got a few Black women on the show with us tonight, and they're going to be able to share with you guys what their experiences have been, and that way you all can know that you are not in this alone. Okay, we'll talk about some private stats. We'll go over some articles. We'll go over some good things. We're also going to do our regular thing. We're going to go over our current events, and we're going to have our last minute is going to be about sports. We're going to talk about the devaluing of Cam Newton. We're going to talk about what's going on in the NBA. So go ahead and stick with us throughout this show. We got some really good things for you. But first, I do want to talk about our sponsor. It's www.rjsmarketplace.com. You can go there and get all your PPE gear. You can also get your chronic killer, which is your blunt spray. Thank you all again for joining us. We're going to get started real soon. I'm going to pull up the current events. We're going to just go ahead and jump into this and make this go ahead and happen pretty fast tonight. I don't really want to be on here for 3 hours tonight. Once again, like I said, you go ahead and the Blog Talk Radio show line is down at the bottom of your screen. You can always call in. We'll love to hear from you. It's 845-277-9427. You can call in and listen to the show too from that number. And like I said, please go ahead. And if you're in Facebook land and you're joining us right now, go ahead and hit that like and share button. Go ahead and drop in the comments who you are, where you're from. That way we can know how far we've reached. All right, we're going to go ahead and jump on in this. We're not going to really take too much time and share. We're going to go ahead and start with our current events, which is going to be talking about COVID. We're going to talk about some things that happened with Trump. And then we'll move on to our new topic. So let me go ahead and get that ready for you real quickly. Actually, I'll give people a couple more minutes. It don't seem like we got a lot of people joining in pretty early tonight. It's kind of my fault. I didn't do a whole lot of promotions. I do apologize for that, but we'll do a better job. I mean, usually we do have good promotions, and this little ring light is hot. I didn't know this thing was going to be this hot. Ugh. All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen with you. All right, so we're talking about the current events, and we're going to we always do the 9th, just to let you know the new numbers. These numbers come from cd.gov, and what we did was on July 9th, which was last Thursday. You can see the numbers from last week. We're going to go ahead and go over the new numbers for July 16th. Total cases, 3,483,832 cases, compared to last week of 3,047,671 cases. So now we have an uptick in new cases of 67,404. Total new deaths are 136,938. I mean, that's a total deaths, and then the new deaths 947. So Florida on Sunday, new infection eclipsing the previous high of 12,274 record in New York on April 4th, amid the worst of the outbreak. PPE gear, get mask. I mean, I wish there are a lot of places now that are making it mandatory. In Atlanta, here is not bowing down to the governor. She's making it will mask because she got too. So, all right, in the U.S., some of the Latin countries has been recently embroiled in controversy after many consumers decided to boycott their product. The boycott came after company chief executive officer Robert, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, praised U.S. President Donald Trump at an event at the White House. I think it said Uni said Trump's leadership was a blessing. I don't know what he's. There must be something. What they got in them Goyo beans? Ain't you must got something in there, bro. I don't remember eating no Goyo beans, but I'm probably gonna try it because that's some good stuff. Then, Mr. President, this is what he said. Mr. President, what can I tell you? I'm so blessed to be here in the most country in the world, and we're blessed to have you as our leader as we continue to make it the most prosperous nation. As the guys that prompt and pitch, this is some in the crap. We've never seen nothing like this. And you know what I'm gonna do? But I got response to this. This was actually pretty awesome. So we're going to take a minute and listen to Chris Como.
Start with this. The pandemic is in full effect. It's feasting on us, especially red states whose governors followed Trump's trail of denial to their own detriment. Now, why should you be hot? Why should you not believe? Well, the record. But more importantly, this. You tell me how a president in the middle of a pandemic has got time for this bullshit. Are you kidding me? Hawking products at Goy, I don't care who it is. Resolute desk. This is what he's resolute about. Pandemic priorities. His daughter Ivanka, top White House advisor. Are you kidding me? Marketing for a brand following calls for boycotts after Goya's CEO heaped praise on Trump last week. On your dime, in the middle of a pandemic, they're selling beans. Are you kidding me? Seriously. Left and right, this is reasonable, my brothers and sisters. The guy's sitting on the Resolute desk with a bunch of Goya products. Proof positive of why we need many Faucis, but we only have one. Why? The idea of him messing with Fauci when he's selling magic beans is crazy. What reason? What good reason? What good reason? That's the question. Now, you say none. Okay, so then what's the bad reason? Now things start to look more clear. Shift the blame. Put stink on Fauci. Sell your beans. Cut out the CDC from data information. What's the good reason? Well, some hospitals weren't reporting. What does that have to do with the CDC being cut out? Make them report better. National Guard? Give us the data and the administration? Why? I don't know the good reason, but I know a bad one. Lie, deny, and defy. The president keeps telling you the problem is testing. You don't think that has anything to do with his desire for this information? Wake up. This is what's meant.
So that was Chris Como of CNN. If you want to see the full video, you can go to CNN.com. He told the truth. He spit facts in there. This is ridiculous that we got a president that acts like a child, pretty much. He acts like a little spoiled baby child. And I don't care if you got a problem with me saying that. All right. So this week, we had 87 people charged with felonies after Breonna Taylor's protest at Attorney General House. 87 people. This is coming from CBS News. 87 people were arrested and charged with a felony after Tuesday's protest on the lawn of Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron. The Louisville Metro Police Department said in a statement the protesters were demanding that charges be filed against the officers responsible for the March shooting death of Breonna Taylor. The protest began Tuesday evening near Ballard High School in Louisville, Kentucky. CBS affiliate reports. The protests marched from the school to Cameron's home, with many of the demonstrators sitting and standing on Cameron's lawn. The protesters who were chanting slogans demanding justice for Taylor were asked to leave by the police, but many chose to stay. Those who did were arrested without incident, according to WLKY TV. In total, 87 people, this is a statement, in total, 87 people were arrested, LMPD said, due to their refusal to leave the property and their attempts to influence the decision of the Attorney General with their actions. Each person was charged with intimidating and participate in a legal process, disorderly conduct in the second degree, Class B misdemeanors, and criminal trespass third degree violation. And I'm pretty sure those cops were happy to arrest people. I know a couple celebrities that hit the news for being out there, but I didn't put their pictures up here. And I thank them for actually going out there. I think it was Yanni. I think her name is Yanni from like the Love and Hip Hop, and then Portia from the Black Housewives. They were out there, and then there were a couple rappers too. I'm sorry, I'm not really caught up with these new rappers. I don't remember their name. Justice needs to be brought to this family. Those police officers need to be held accountable. And I'm happy that these people took out the time in their day to risk themselves to go out there, because like we said, we already know the cops are against them when it comes down to that. We'll bring you more updates as they come, and we'll do it every weekly. Sometimes I may do some pop-ups, but we'll move on. This kind of happened right around the same time as the Minnesota incident. This was in Jackson, Mississippi. As you can see on the side, a police officer is choking a young man on the side of the car. So he was put on administrative leave at first. So a Jackson police officer has been let go after he was involved in a viral confrontation near Bailey Avenue. In the video recorded in May, that's right, you can actually go online and see the video. Officer Marone Smith can be seen holding a suspect by the neck. It's not clear what led to the incident. What he was saying in the video, there were women around screaming at him. They're saying he's telling you he can't breathe. If you actually watch the video, he yoked this young man up. Like he got him hemmed up on that car. And you see my hands, what he was saying. Officer Smith responded, "I'm not even choking him. Look where my hands are at." Look where his hands are at. Right around his neck, and especially around the part where they teach us in the Marine Corps where to choke you at. All right. The suspect would later state that he could not breathe. Chief Sam Brown has now revealed that after an internal affairs investigation, Officer Smith is no longer employed with the Jackson Police Department. That's come from WLPT News, Jackson, Mississippi. They also did a little bit more digging, and this officer actually has a history of excessive force. This wasn't his first time. It just happened to be caught on camera and hit the media. So go ahead and look this up. You can see, I think it was about 3 other incidents that they named in the article. This is crazy, man. I mean, I'm from Jackson, and I can tell you, I do know that it's not an easy job dealing with some of the young men in the city, but if you got that badge on, you're supposed to be a leader, and this is not the way you handle it. And if you watch the video, you could totally tell that this officer lost his cool. So he's no longer employed with Jackson Police Department, and that makes me pretty happy. So we usually go over the stocks, and so we'll go over some stock stuff. This is from Yahoo Finance. This was updated today. So stocks mostly lowered after the NASDAQ set records high. That was like we said last week, they kept talking about how it was setting the record high, but it actually went down. I'm talking about the week before, sorry. And then it went down. So the 3 major indices ended Thursday sessions lower, and the Dow ended a 4-day winning streak after new data showed a greater than expected number of jobless claims were filed last week. A rotation out of the tech stocks also continued during Thursday's session, with the information technology and Amazon heavy consumer discretionary sectors among the laggards in the S&P 500. Shares of shares of Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, and Apple fell on Thursday before holding near unchanged during the overnight session. Another high growth stock viewed as a winner of the stay-at-home trade also fell after UBS downgraded the stock on its valuation concerns. Then also per tech giant Netflix saw its stock slump in a after hours trading and after delivering a week low outlook for the current quarter, suggesting that the streaming company's incredible surge of new users was slow in the second half of the year. Netflix expects to add 2.5 million new users in the third quarter, half as many as analysis is anticipated. Still, the company's 10 million new users in the second quarter were better than the 8.3 expected. So like I said, you want more news, you want to go look up the stocks. I suggested last week and I suggested again, follow Yahoo Finance. You can follow Yahoo Finance. You can get updates sent straight to your phone, to your tablets, to your devices, especially if you're thinking about or you are considering like you want to learn about investing. You got to read about it. You got to learn about it on your own. And this is the best way to learn about stocks, is by following them. All right. And Yahoo Finance isn't the only one, but this is just one that I'm recommending to you. All right. So we are done with that. We're done with the current updates. So we can now move on to our main topic. So like I said today, I'm going to go ahead and start bringing on my bros. I'm never here. So yes, Nikki, he should have let go. He didn't have no business putting his hands around that guy's neck. Thank you all, everybody who's joining us on Facebook. Thank you. Go ahead and throw in where you're coming from. Like I said, hit that like and share button. If you're on YouTube, do the same thing. Hit that subscribe button. I'm going to go ahead and start bringing in our brothers right now. I told you I didn't want to take too much time. I'm going to start off right now with my boy Angel. What's up, brother?
Yeah, it was good.
Always clean. Angel. Ready to come in, man. Thank you for joining us, brother. We're going to bring in Stu. What's up, Stu? Unmute yourself, son, so you can speak to us.
Always issues.
My bad. Hey, how y'all doing?
What's up, bro? Thank you for joining us today. And we do got some guests on. I don't know why they should have turned on the camera, or you just call in. But I'm going to go ahead and bring Nova. How you doing? You got yourself on mute, too. I can't unmute you.
Sorry. Hello.
Hey, thank you for joining us. She came here today to share her experiences and to talk about the postpartum that you went through, correct?
Yes.
Let me ask you a question. How many children do you have?
One.
One. Okay.
Yes.
And so you had your first child and you went through this. Wow.
Yes.
Okay. That's thank you for coming on. We got some people in the back room. I'm going to bring them on. Keisha. You got to unmute yourself, too. I don't know if she's still around. Let's go to Jazz. Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, Jazz. How you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Thank you for joining us today. Keisha, you're on now?
I'm on.
All right. Thank you for joining us, Keisha. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. Keisha, you mind if I ask you the same question? How many children do you have?
I have two.
You have two? How old the ages?
14 and 9.
14 and 9.
I'm
Okay.
turning 15 on Tuesday.
You had to make that known.
Happy early birthday. Sooner or later, you ain't going to be too happy about those. You ain't going to be shouting out how old you is. That's how you doing? I'm going to ask you the same question. How many children do you have? You got to unmute yourself. Yeah, I can't do it for you. Okay. Well, we're just going to. Did she do it?
Oh,
there you go.
Sorry. I came in on the wrong part. I actually do not have any children at this moment.
You don't have any children, you said?
No.
Okay. You just joining us just to sit in?
I can leave. I came in on the wrong part.
No, I'm just wondering. Just wondering what we got going on and who to ask questions. I just want to make sure I ask the right ones. I see one more person. We got Asia Ware Hall. You're also muted.
Yeah, I'm muted on purpose. I'm sorry. I just wanted to spectate.
Okay. That's okay. Yeah, you can spectate. I'll leave you on mute then. That's okay. we'll move into the main topic then. Yeah, I don't see anybody else in the back room. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen with you. All right, so one reason that we thought of this because postpartum isn't just something that affects the Black community in a way, because reading through this, man, I actually, it didn't really shock me, some of the stuff that I found out, but at the same time, I think a lot of women feel like they're on their own. They feel like they're going through it by themselves. So we just wanted to bring this out so that women can see that they're not the only ones going through this, and that they can find a support network if they want to with other women. Okay, that sounds good to y'all?
Yes.
All right. So just some data that I found, and I thought we can maybe just explain what it is. I found out during my research that there are like 3 different levels. Like you see right here, one of the most common symptoms is called baby blues symptoms. It's not postpartum. It's something that's usually happens when a woman has a child, goes through childbirth, because your body is going through so many changes. So it's his signs and symptoms of baby blues, which lasts only a few days to a week or 2 after your baby is born. So it may include mood swings, anxiety, sadness, irritability, feeling overwhelmed, crying, reduced concentration, and appetite problems. And trouble sleeping. So that's something that's common. So it can get mixed. It can get mistaken as postpartum, but it's supposed to be something that's supposed to be really short term. So we'll move on to the next one. This is actually the postpartum depression. So it says 1 in 7 mothers. So we got this from the Mayo Clinic. It's 1 in 7 mothers are diagnosed with postpartum depression. Postpartum depression may be mistaken for baby blues at first, but the signs and symptoms are more intense and last longer, and may eventually interfere with your ability to care for your baby and handle other daily tasks. Symptoms usually develop within the first few weeks after giving birth, but may begin early during the pregnancy or later, up to a year after birth.
Yeah.
All right, so it gives out a bunch of, as you can see, the list of symptoms are a lot longer than the baby blues. So you got depressed mood, excessive crying, difficulty bonding with your baby, withdrawing from family and friends, loss of appetite, eating much more than usual, inability to sleep, insomnia or sleeping too much, overwhelming fatigue or loss of energy, reduced interest and pleasure in activities you used to enjoy, intense irritability and anger, fear that you are not a good mother, hopelessness, feelings of worthlessness, shame, guilt, inadequacy, diminished ability to think clearly, concentrate, or make decisions, restlessness, severe anxiety and panic attacks. Oops, I can't see the bottom one. And then you have thoughts of harming yourself or your baby, recurrent thoughts of suicide. Untreated postpartum depression may last for many months or longer. And then there's one behind that one that's called postpartum psychosis. With postpartum psychosis, it's a rare condition that typically develops within the first week after delivery. The signs and symptoms are severe. Signs and symptoms may include confusion and disorientation, obsessive thoughts about your baby, hallucinations and delusions, sleep disturbance, excessive energy and agitation, paranoia, attempts to harm yourself or your baby. Postpartum psychosis may lead to life-threatening thoughts or behavior and requires immediate treatment. So let me go ahead and ask you real quickly, one of the ladies, do the first one sound like something familiar that what you went through or what you're currently going through?
Yeah, it definitely does sound a lot familiar. So yeah.
What do you mind sharing? Like what seems to affect your daily?
I think I had I do go to counseling now for postpartum, but I had a lot of anxiety and prior I have PTSD. So with having that, my anxiety increased a lot. I struggle with depression like excessively. It'd be like days when I wake up and I just did not want to be my child's mom. And let's be clear, like my child is a blessing because I was told I couldn't have a child. So to not want something that I'm supposed to cherish. There were days where I wake up and I was just like, I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to do nothing. And it wasn't exhaustion. It was just, I don't want to do it, And so it triggered a lot of things, where like, even my husband and I think we had an argument at like 4 a.m. and I got left with the baby and got a hotel room because I was mad because he picked up the baby because the baby was crying. Like, just, and it sounds crazy to most people, but it was just I was so chaotic, and I didn't know, like, I was just cry, like, and I'm not a crier. So I would just be crying. I'm like, why am I crying? And then I get upset at myself because I'm crying and I don't know why I'm crying. So it just became like this. It was just irritating. Like, I was irritated, and I was angry, and I don't know, I have my days now, I would say, but I think sometimes it's just because I don't get enough sleep, when it happens for me most.
Oh, okay. Wow, that sounds intense. So with your husband and with your family dynamic, does it seem like it's throwing off your family dynamic in your household?
I would say initially it was. I think now we are kind of settling into the fact that we have a child. He's 13 months, so obviously he's here. But initially, I think even just like, I know the last trimester of your pregnancy, you tend to suffer with depression as well. So I was kind of depressed through from like my last trimester, and then my baby was premature and he was on NICU, and that triggered depression as well. Into now he's home and I have to get up every 2 hours. And while at the time, my husband was working further away, so he had to get up earlier. So it was like, he didn't get up. So then I didn't want to wake him up when the baby got up. So I would sleep in the guest room with the baby. So then our dynamic was kind of off for a while, because it's like, the baby's here and we're focused on the baby, but we're forgetting about each other. So I think that played a role in us kind of like, kind of shifting how our household was for a while, until we were able to kind of like, I think when he got to like 7 months, he started sleeping through the night. So that kind of worked out a little better, where we could sleep in the room and put him in his crib and he wouldn't cry and wake my husband up. And then he got a job closer. So now even if he gets up at night, sometimes my husband gets up with him, because he knows I don't sleep. Since my last trimester, I can't say I get 8 hours of sleep. My body just naturally, like, I'll be up to like 1, 2 o'clock, and then I'll be up at 6 or 7. So there is that too.
Ooh, that sounds that's pretty harsh, especially dealing with PTSD at the same time. All right. Did Keisha, did you want to share any of your experiences? I don't know which one said that they were just sitting in. I don't remember if it was Keisha or Asia. Asia? Oh, Keisha, you're on mute. If you did want to share some of your experience, you can take yourself off of mute. I'm going to go ahead and show some of the Facebook comments. We have some ladies going in. We got Kathleen Jones. She says the birth experience and postpartum support system can also contribute to postpartum mental health concerns. Okay. Yeah, true. We got Nakia Harris. She said, I agree. A lot of women have identified child labor as a traumatic experience. And you know what? That's it's true, because they talk about how Black women don't get treated the same way as everyone else when they go in to the birthing rooms. Fellas, did you guys want to join in and share any of your experience? Because I know some of us, we've been married and we got children, and some of our spouses and children's mother has went through that. Did you guys want to add anything about how it affected your family household?
I mean, with my middle child that that passed away, that was a really, really traumatic experience. And so when you have a sick child coupled with postpartum, and then it becomes a blame game, between the two parents while the child is sick, so it definitely kind of shifted our dynamic quite a bit. When my last child was born, you know, kind of understanding the things she was going through. I was being very supportive and stuff like that. But it's weird because something happened to my ex that never changed after that, you know. And I used to tell her that, you know, hey, you need to go get some counseling, some things that you need to work through, you know. I couldn't really be of any help other than a listening ear, you know, but that carried through the entire relationship. And even you could see how she acted toward my daughters and everything. So when you talk about that kind of disconnection with your children, you know, that lasted a very long time, you know, with her and her situation.
Yeah, I went through the same thing with my last daughter. You know, it was weird because my with my wife, our son, she was happy go lucky. Like after our son, you know, it really nothing changed. And then with my daughter, it was just like you said, it's something happened that never really reset itself back, and it really interfered with our dynamics. I mean, I'm single now, basically. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Like the thoughts were, I'm quitting this, then I'm quitting you, then I'm quitting this. And it's like, whoa, all this just happened all of a sudden. Stu, you want to chime in?
Yeah, so I had a study I want to talk about a little later, but yeah, so I experienced that as well. That's why I was so supportive of this topic. I know it's real. I've been through it. You know, it really impacts the whole family. And sometimes, you know, as a spouse or the mate, you don't know what to do. You know, you try to support, or if you recognize that it can be postpartum, if you even mention that, it can set off a bomb. So you kind of at a catch-22. You're trying to support, but you don't want to say too much and label them at the same time, and they become defensive. So it's kind of tough. So I got a question to the ladies as well. You know, for the spouse or the father or the mate, how do we support you? You know, because if we go do research on our own, we think we probably know what it is, but you don't want to hear that. So, you know, it's kind of tough.
Honestly, my husband suggested it was postpartum, and I was offended. Like, I was mad. He was about to be single because I was ready to leave him too. Like, ain't nothing wrong with me. I'm a good mother. I went through all of that. And my counselor, the VA, they call you to do check-ins and see how you're doing. And she called me to do a check-in, and I was explaining to her how I felt, and she said, "Oh, I think you need to see somebody for postpartum." And I was like, "I don't have postpartum." And so I still really didn't believe that I had postpartum. But then when I sat down and started talking to my counselor, I was like, "Oh, okay, I do have postpartum." And then I have a friend, she had her son right after me, and so she was kind of going through the same thing, and I was able to say, "Hey, this is what my counselor said. Maybe you should see a counselor." So I think even if you guys know someone that has just had a baby, or someone that is going through that has gone through postpartum, have them sit down and talk to her, because to us it seems it's kind of hurtful when you hear someone say that, because you feel like you're not a good mother, and it's hurtful in a way. Especially when it's coming from your spouse, because you're like, well, I'm taking care of your child, and you're insinuating that something is wrong with me. So I think if I didn't speak to the counselor, I wouldn't have even acknowledged it at all. So I think that's a great place to start. Women reach women better in certain situations. And I think in this situation, finding another woman to sit down and have a conversation with her can do a lot of help.
Awesome. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for sharing that, because I did find a story that kind of goes along with that, and we'll talk about why a lot of Black women don't feel like they're scared to go seek help. This was actually a really good story. I found it on the NPR.org. You can go look at it. They get a statement from Portia Smith. She's pictured right here with her children. She talks about her vivid memories of her daughter's first year and of tears, not the baby, her own. She said, "I would just hold her and cry all day," Smith recalls, At 18, she was caring for 2 children, 4-year-old and a newborn, and she was in an abusive relationship. So she said I really didn't have a connection for her, Smith says. She's now a motivational speaker. I didn't even want to breastfeed her because I didn't want that closeness with her. Ooh. The emotions were overwhelming, but Smith couldn't bring herself to ask for help. She said, you're afraid to say it because you think the next step is to take your children away from you. She says, you're young and you're African American, so it's like people are thinking she's going to be a bad mom. And that kind of, the reason why I'm glad you brought up that whole feeling of being a bad mom, because see, it seemed like that's a shared feeling. And from what my research showed is that's a lot of African American women are scared that if they say something, somebody gonna come take their kids. Did you kind of feel that way?
So my son's godmother works for child services. So for me, especially, I was like, yeah, she's about to take my kid because I really was like, and my friends live in Alaska. Majority of my friends live in Alaska. So it's not like I could say, hey, can you come and watch him? I need a break. They called and they checked in on me and things like that. But outside of that, I felt like if I was to say, I told my friends in Alaska how I felt, and they will always kind of be like, you're going to be okay. This is normal, take a break. That was always take a break. And I didn't want to put my son in daycare because he was too young. And I wanted to be the perfect mom. So I wanted to stay home with my child. I wanted I was in school. I wanted to be in school, and I wanted to do everything by myself because that's just the type of person that I am. However, I felt like if I was to tell the people that were like kind of close, that it would have been like, yeah, girl, you're not fit to be a mom yet. So you should just let us take the child, because I don't know how that whole process goes. I don't know what qualifies somebody to be unfit. So in my mind, I'm like, well, maybe if I don't want it on some days, then that makes me unfit to be a mother. So yeah, there were days where I definitely felt like I couldn't tell people how I was feeling because they might take my child from me.
That's kind of scary. That's kind of sad, but I can kind of understand where that comes from, especially as an African American person. Stu, you want to go ahead and share some of your stats with us?
Yeah. So some of the stats that I had. There was a study done by the National Institute of Health. It's a federal agency within the federal government. And they did a study about 30,000 women, 13,000 white, about 13,000 black, and about 3,000 Latinas who gave birth between 2004 and 2007. And it was around the New Jersey area. And it was out on the Medicaid program, New Jersey Medicaid program. So basically, the evidence suggested that the rates of postpartum depression did not differ by race and ethnicity, but it did not conclusively demonstrate equal rates across the board. So what they did was they focused on low-income mothers. And, so those 30,000 women, it was on the Medicaid program. And the study showed that initiation and continuation of postpartum treatment among low-income mothers, racial ethnic disparities imply that Black women and Latinas face additional challenges than the white women. So I think we all probably know that, but that's the proof, and that study was done. But I just want to put it out that it was specific to the New Jersey area, the Medicaid program, and 30,000 women. So the presence of such disparities points to the need of clinical and institutional policies and programs that need to be put in place to address these barriers and, to promote mental health care that are faced by Black women and Latinas in the months after delivery. So I just want to point that study out. So I know a lot of times we see Facebook memes, we talk about a lot of stuff, but there are actual studies. If we go to the National Institute of Health, Health and Human Services, the CDC, to get these facts. And you take those facts, and we actually take those to, legislation, your governors, your mayors, to get this push in our hospitals So, these are the facts we need to gather. These studies are out here. We need to pay attention to them and start utilizing them. So I just want to bring it up.
I got the study up on the screen that Stu is referring to. Like he said, you can find it just by Googling it. The study name is Race and Ethnic Disparities in Postpartum Depression Care Among Low-Income Women. Like he said, they did a study in New Jersey. They did about 29,000 women. 13,000 were white, 13,000. They did about 400 more Black women, and they only did 3,100 Latinas. And so they did the study for a couple of years. It went from July 2004 to July 2007. And it breaks it down pretty well. Like Stu said, it wasn't really that big of a difference, as you could see. 9% of the white women initiated, but the thing is what they're talking about is 9% initiated postpartum mental health compared to 4% of Black women and 5% of Latinas. So it's kind of showing that even low-income white women are going out and getting more help and from healthcare than the Blacks and the Latina. So it is something that we need to put out there. You need to, if you do feel these symptoms, we don't want you to go too far into the hole. Don't worry about what people are going to look at you like, right? You want to be the best that you can be. You want to be the best mother that you can be. You want your household. We're not going to grow if the mom is down, period. Like all of us, like I just told you, I'm single now. And that house was a disarray. Do you fellas say the same thing?
No, my house was never in disarray. Once I got rid of her, then that's when the disarray left. You know what I'm saying?
I've got the disarray out. Disarray while I was there. Like, hey, you go over there and do it over there.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead.
I think it's this stigma. As Black women, we perpetrate this too, that we're strong and we can tolerate anything and we can do anything. But my thing once I really started, and this is recent for me. I'm about to be 34, so this took me a long time to get like, why do you want to struggle when you don't have to? Yeah. Why do you want to be hurt when you don't have to be hurt? Why do you want to feel all these things when you don't have to? If there is help out there, seek the help. Because at the end of the day, it's really about you. If you're not healthy, and you're falling apart, you can't say I'm a good mom. You can't say I'm being a good wife. You can't say I'm being a productive person. You can't even really say that you're being fair to yourself if you know something is wrong and you know that you're not feeling like yourself and you don't go and seek help. If you know a friend that's in school for counseling, talk to them. They love to unpack people because, even go that route, but find somebody to talk to, find a support system to talk to, find somebody at church to talk to. Because again, like you said, don't be so concerned about what other people have to say about you, because opinion don't pay no bills. And when you're dead, they're still going to have opinions of you. When you kill yourself, they're still going to have opinions of you. So why not stay alive to make them mad? Let's be real. If you feel like something is wrong, get help.
Keisha, she's having some audio issues, but she is talking in the chat. She said a pretty interesting thing. She said it was different for me because I suffered alone in the Army and overseas. It was rough.
I bet.
Yeah, I bet it's really hard for military women because they expect you to jump back in there, right? They expect you to have your child, do your leave, and get right back on in there, right?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So I said that for I was a single mom, and I was stationed in Germany, and I was, of course, active duty military. So it was hard for me because I didn't have anybody to reach out to. And I was afraid to go to my chain of command because they thought I was crazy or I was trying to get out of something. So that was something that I suffered with. And this was with my first child. And it was hard for me to even open my mouth and say I'm in pain or I need help or anything. And so I left it alone. But I was able to reach out to a church that helped me. But to me, I was to a point, it was almost too late. And the reason why I say that is because I had battled depression way after the fact. My daughter was well over a year old. And because my family wasn't there, I was overseas and I had no help, I struggled with that. And it carried for longer than a year. And I can say I've dealt with that for about 2 years after the fact that I had my child. But then I had another one, a single mother. And it was hard. So I agree with everybody. When you need help, you need help. And you got to be able to go to the right source to help you through the whole process.
Are you still serving, Keisha, or are you out?
Oh no, I'm done. I did my 12 and up and out.
What did you do to start seeking? What made you start seeking help and start approaching and actually admitting it that you needed?
What pushed me is the fact that when I started to see myself spiral is when I stopped eating. When I stopped maintaining my house. And it just hit me all of a sudden. And and my daughter was in her room crying one day. My son was having one of his moments, and I was sitting there like, what is going on? It's like I couldn't get up and move. I just couldn't do it. Then that got to a point that I said, I have to find somebody. I got to find somebody. I can't do this by myself. And I found myself laid out on the floor crying. And I was just crying and crying. I can't keep living like this. And I finally reached out to my leaders at my church, because I was doing it. I was silent about it. I was very silent about it. I didn't want anybody thinking anything was wrong with me, and I didn't want to have to sit in offices and talk to people, take medication. I said I didn't want to deal with that. So I reached out to people in my church, and they were really instrumental in me overcoming that.
Well, I'm glad for that. And thank you for sharing your story with us. And I hope you're doing better. And I hope you're doing well.
Oh, I am.
All right, great.
I am. Thank you.
We're gonna go ahead and hit these Facebook comments. They've been hitting these Facebook comments with the paragraphs. Nakia said, "I read a study that Black women and Latinas are more prone to postpartum because they are less likely to actively receive mental health treatment. And on top of that, majority of the women that don't receive care come from low income households. So do you think that may have something to do with them not seeking help?" We just went over in the study. Yeah, low income could have something to do with it because it's hard to find someone like I talked about last week. They can't be expensive. Go. Let me hit the Facebook chats first, and then we'll add on. Yeah, that could be it, Nakia. That could be a part of it. But there are resources out there. Skip. Well, of course they're going to, if they're already collecting social service. Boy, go on somewhere. We got Tamika.
What did he say? I didn't see it.
What did he say?
Well, of course they're going to, if they're already collecting social. It's a uphill battle from day that they find out that they're pregnant. Do you get it?
Oh, I see what he's saying. I think he's saying that they're struggling already.
He's saying they're struggling already. They're already on welfare, so it's going to be an uphill battle as soon as they get pregnant.
And I wasn't on no welfare, and it was still an uphill battle. And all Keisha's military wasn't collecting welfare. Uphill battle.
Then you see why I tried to get rid of the comment?
Uphill battle.
Yeah.
Well, he said it.
Yeah. Okay. Tamika Smith said, "No mother, especially a new mother, wants to admit that there is something wrong. We legitimately believe that we are supposed to be perfect, and when we're not, it makes us defensive with anyone that points out the imperfection." And we are. Yeah, you're right, Tamika. You do believe that, especially we believe we're the protector, and when somebody tells us we ain't doing it, we got a problem with it. All right, Lamac put, "I believe it begins with prenatal care. You learn a lot during prenatal care, and a lot of low-income moms don't seek prenatal care until it's the end of the pregnancy." You think there's any truth to that, Phil? Guys, anybody on the panel?
Well, I wouldn't know.
It's expensive. It's expensive to go to the hospital and go to all these appointments and things like that. When you're low income, you don't have insurance and such things. So you don't. Prenatal care does. They do offer counseling. They offer a lot of things that you can get while you're going through your pregnancy. I was in school and I was a double major, so I didn't go to a lot of my appointments. I didn't say they didn't offer it. I didn't go to my appointments because I had schoolwork to do and I had school to focus on. I had my baby a month after I graduated. My child was premature, and that came from a lot of stress that I put on myself to finish school on time. So yeah, they do offer things like that you can, they do pregnancy massages and all that stuff that can relax you and help you take care of yourself. So yeah, when you know how to take care of yourself during your pregnancy, you know how to take care of yourself after your pregnancy. But when you skip those things, it becomes harder.
So Nevaeh, so you said you was double major, you was busy, you didn't go to some of those classes. Do you think hindsight 2020 that if you went to those classes could curb some of those issues, or wouldn't it matter?
Yeah, I think it would have curbed a lot of the issues, especially for me. I think like my VA appointments, I had a lot of classes for coping with PTSD and things like that I stopped going to because it was like, okay, I have to finish school. So I didn't do a lot of that stuff, which I think if I did when I started going to postpartum counseling, a lot of the things that I learned as far as coping mechanism and understanding what I was going through, it was really like, hey, this is something I probably could have learned earlier if I had went. Like, take time for yourself. Go to your pregnancy massage. That translates to me as take time for yourself when your baby gets here. It's the biggest thing for me was it's okay to let the baby cry. Like, it was such a triggering thing. Like, I was doing such a bad job as a mom because my son is crying, and my friends would say, girl, put him in his crib and let him cry. When you leave the hospital, they tell you that. Put him in his crib and let him cry and take a break if you need to. But for me, my child is crying. And so now I'm having to hold him and hold him and hold him. And I'm holding him and I'm crying. So we're both in there's in my kitchen at the ceiling, there's still a black spot at the top of the ceiling because I had overworked myself to where I was so exhausted one day. And, I wanted to do everything. I boiled bottles before I put them in the steamer. I'm Jamaican. We boil bottles. Even though people say you don't need to boil the bottles, I boiled the bottles before I put them in the steamer. So I left the stove on and I sat on the couch with him, just waiting on him to fall asleep. And I dozed off. And by the time my husband got in 20 minutes later, we had passed out on the couch and everything was smoked out.
Oh, man.
Just from exhaustion. So just if I had taken the time to myself, like my husband was saying, hey, maybe you should put him in daycare, or maybe you can get a nanny to come in for a couple of hours a day. But after that, we did get a nanny to come in, and she came in for 5 hours a day. And I was able to go to my study and do my schoolwork, or get out of the house and go get my nails done, or do anything to kind of just take care of myself. But because I wanted to be the perfect mother, I ended up almost killing my child.
So the basic theme is make sure you take some time to take care of yourself, yes. Right? Because you can end up doing a mistake, like almost setting your house on fire, leaving the child somewhere. That's how I'm pretty sure that's how a lot of accidents happen sometimes, right? So Kathleen Jones gave a suggestion: doulas can help new and repeat parents with postpartum transitions. I don't even know what a doula is.
We had a doula. They work.
You got a doula?
Yeah.
What's a doula?
The midwife.
Oh, that's a midwife. Just a different word.
It's different than the.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the same thing.
They're with you through the whole pregnancy. They coach you doing delivery. Totally different. Yeah, they prepare you. Yeah, they're absolutely worth it. I recommend anybody. But they're kind of expensive though. But it's absolutely worth it. Off the bat,
Black people, the doula.
Doulas originated in Africa, actually.
Yeah, I'm saying very much tied.
It's a communal thing, but they kind of adopted it in America and monetized it. So
right.
So it's something else they took from us.
Yeah, they sell us our culture, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Something else they took from us. What else did you say? The importance of mother seems to be when she is pregnant and not as much as when she is postpartum, which is considered the fourth trimester and needs to be honored as well.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I get it. I get it. Thanks, Kathleen. That's some good advice. This was a great discussion. Did you have any resources or anything that you knew of that other than what we discussed already that you want to suggest to women?
I would say reach out to a local counselor. Reach out to people at church and people that you trust. I don't have a great relationship with my maternal family. However, my stepmother, my parents live in London, so it's hard. But I remember when I really started digging into postpartum, I really started talking to her about it. I talked to my friends that they have kids, and so that helps a lot. And when my husband and I, we have a safe word. So if I start to spiral without him, the word is used so I don't get offended.
That's cool.
If he says it, like if he says postpartum, I'm probably gonna be offended. But if he says the safe word, then I'm like, oh, okay, I'm I'm tripping. We watch anime, and one of the Black Clover, and Oscar is like this. So whenever I get he's like, you're being like Oscar. And so I don't get offended because I'm like, I take a step back and I'm like, okay, I'm going to set an appointment and I'm going to sit down, I'm going to speak with somebody. So I think even if you do it that way, where you have somebody that can communicate with you, where you don't take offense to what they're saying, that works out too. But you have to reach out to somebody, VA, churches, and things like that. That would be my big suggestion.
Keisha, did you want to chime in? Did you have any suggestions?
Actually, I agree with Novia. It's to reach out to people that you trust and that that have good intentions, that they won't pretty much make you feel worse than what you already feel. And also reaching out and being real about how you feel, and not covering it up, and just saying like, this is where I'm at, this is how I feel, and just getting it out there. And just by you just opening your mouth and speaking where you're at, that's actually a step forward to recovery. And I pretty much agree with Novia.
All right. So the main word is seek help. And I really like what you said too about how you and your husband work together to find out, to come up with solutions and ways to make things work. That's a really big suggestion too, especially for the men out there. Be patient, find ways to work out with your wife or your spouse, and that way you guys can get through this. It's just a tough time, and just kind of get through it. Hopefully nobody went through that third level where they were psychosis. That's kind of like, I guess, where the lady drove the kids on the beach and drove them into the ocean. That's that level. If you feel like you're getting to that level, please seek help. Please call someone. If you're really feeling suicidal, there's a suicidal hotline. Call someone, let someone know. Don't be afraid to call someone and let someone know that you're feeling suicidal. You should be more afraid of killing yourself than actually getting help and leaving your kids here alone. Fellas, did y'all want to add anything before we move on?
So I just want to, Nakia from Facebook made a comment about low income and does that impact people getting help. So I have a theory. I can't prove it, but it's what I feel. A lot of times I grew up low income. When you're not used to having things, you don't know about it. It don't become a norm, right? So it's not a norm. So when you grow up, somebody says therapy, hell no, I'm not getting that, because you wasn't raised with that. You couldn't afford it as a kid, so you just had to be strong. You had to pray it away. You had to be tough. You had to push on with life, right? So you become an adult, it's not something you will fall back on. It's not a norm. And I think that stems from being low income, not being able to afford it. So a lot of times, a lot of Black families become, well off or middle class or whatever. You can afford services. Their kids have those norms of therapy, getting help and stuff like that. So I think low income really matters.
All right, Angel.
I think that definitely does play a factor in it. Growing up poor, somebody sees something about therapy, you'd be like, that's white people shit. But I think the culture and the mentality has to change about mental health in general in the Black community all the way around. Like people were saying, it's looked at as you being weak. It's looked at as you can't do what you're supposed to do. That whole thing of having to be that perfect whatever, especially for Black women. The whole, well, she's strong, you know what I'm saying? She can't have a weak moment. But not only that, once you do realize that maybe you need therapy or something, you have to prioritize it, right? So what's happening, like you were saying, you had school, you had to do this, you had to do that. So you was pushing it back, not realizing pushing it back is hurting school, work, relationship, and everything else. So we have to push that forward, and that will help. It's kind of like the trickle down effect, you know what I'm saying? That help you in school, or to help you, you know, in your social navigations and stuff like that. So, you know, once it's recognized and we get rid of the stigma that is bad, you know, then it has to be prioritized.
All right. I hope for the ladies who or the women, anybody who are tuning in, we said something that reached out to you and let you know, like we said, the whole point is let you know that you're not alone. Most of, like I said, I read that story. The story pretty much fit into what our panelists said their experience were, our guest panelists said their experience were, and reading the comments, I mean, a lot of ladies had the same experience. Like we got Lily, she came in and she talked about, she was in the military. I think Lily was in the Air Force. She said she deployed 2 months after having her daughter, and it made her suffer terribly with depression. So she understood what Keisha was saying. So thank you, ladies, for sharing your stories. We are gonna have to move on because the show is not gonna be that long tonight. If y'all want to stay on, you're more than welcome to stay on. You don't have to chime in. If you want to invite your husband over, he's more than welcome to come over. We're gonna talk about we're gonna move on into our sports section because it actually has to do with one of the stories. Actually has to do with race. And I believe it has a big thing to do with race. So you can stay on if you want to. You don't have to go on real quick. Thank you for joining on. Oh, they almost let me die delivering my son at the. Oh, well, I've heard stories about this too. We'll talk about that one day. Maybe that'll be a subject, talking about how Black people don't get the adequate amount of medical care that we deserve, and there is a very high fertility, death rate in Black women. Very, very high.
Huge.
It's huge. It's a huge fertility death rate, period. But with Black women, it's ridiculous.
So I read a stat though. The mortality rate in America is sky high for Black women, but in African nations or other Black nations, it's not high. It's here in America.
See, Ashley says, I think this topic would have been good to tie in with miscarriage. Yeah, we'll talk about that maybe one day. We didn't really think about that, but that is a good idea. Thank you for sharing. And yeah, you're right. You really don't. So the studies show it. They prove it. And that could add to the postpartum and other things because you're not getting the talks that everyone else gets. You're not getting the attention that the nurses are giving everyone else. All right. Thank you all for joining for that portion. We're going to move on to the sports session.
Yes. And
right.
I have a couple of people that messaged me and said miscarriages. So they want to talk about that. So y'all should make that a topic one day. I think a lot of Black women have gone through that. I have a friend that lost a baby, I believe 9 years ago, and she still goes to his gravesite to this day and mourn her son. So, you know.
There was a period of time in my best friend, they had a stillbirth, his brother had a stillbirth, and then me had 2 miscarriages in a row. So yeah, it happens. It happens big time. And it's a big effect on your relationship too. All right. We'll think about that. We'll definitely go through that. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. If, like I said, if y'all want to stick in for the sports session, y'all can. What we wanted to talk about now was the NFL. It's been a big talk about Cam Newton. Are you into that, Angel? You know about that too much?
I was reading a couple of things. You know, I don't really follow American football too much. But
the crazy, and what I want to mention is the crazy part is Cam Newton's resume is almost impeccable. The only thing he did was lose a Super Bowl. He's won a Heisman Trophy. He went in first round draft pick. He exceeded expectations, and then he won an MVP. He had one serious injury his entire career that took him out for a while, and then he comes back and he's making less than Matt Barkley. That's a bench warmer. The only contracts he was getting offered was to be on the bench. Do y'all think race plays something in that?
Yeah. Go ahead, Andrew.
Go ahead.
This happens across the board with Black people and Black men and Black women, that you have to be perfect with nothing to even be halfway comparable to somebody that you're probably, way more qualified if they're white. It's almost like they don't want us to get a big head over certain things. Look at the NFL. Your best players, for the most part, are African American. If you take out the black from the NFL, nobody gonna watch it. So I think, in a way, low key, that's what they do. It's like we gotta keep them humble. We gotta keep them low. We gotta, so let's devalue him. That's insulting. And I'm sure it was like a hit to his ego, his self-esteem. I'm pretty sure it would do that to anyone.
Have you seen his videos?
And everything like that. Say again?
Have you seen his videos that he's been dropping?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it hurt. It hit Cam. It hit Cam hard, bro. He's dropping videos like covered. Dude's point. He's in shape. Now, Cam always been in shape, but now Cam is shape. And he's dropped videos pointing. He's like, y'all about to see a different Cam. Y'all want to talk all this trash to me? Y'all want to treat me like this? You about to see a different Cam Newton. I like what Shannon Sharp had to say too, because with what you pointed out, people were starting to say that Cam was getting a big head. Cam is talking too much trash. But if you watch Tom Brady play, that man talks mad shit. He's talking trash to everybody on that other side of the line. So they need to go on with that humble crap. Go ahead, Stu. Add what you got to add, bro.
So basically what I was going to say, I think it is racial, but also I think is jealousy. I think they've been waiting 10 years to shut him up, bro. So yeah, I'm a big Cam fan since college, whatever, but when he came into the league, he was dominating people at a level that you really haven't really seen before physically, and with his arm from a quarterback. I'm talking about he was just manhandling everybody and gloating, Superman. People hated that, bro. So they tried to shut him up for so many years, but he just kept shitting on them. So now he finally got injured. He looking for a contract. Well, we got you. You're going to go to this bench. It's all about humbling him, bro. It's all it's about. Is it racial? Yeah. I think it's also is a jealousy thing, bro. They've been waiting a long time to shut him up. Even the referees allow him to get hurt. He was getting headhunted for years.
After that,
they've been trying to shut him down for years.
Those hits, those are the same type of hits that they claim that they hit the Saints for, talking about bounty gates. That happened to Cam Newton. It was
we seen Cam get speared, late hits, do all kinds. They wanted him to be humble, shut up, and remind him of his place. When he finally got hurt, I need a job. Go to the bench.
And I'm gonna tell you one of the most fucked up parts about it too. It was the black players.
Dude, don't get me started.
It was the black players.
That's why I said it's race, but it's also jealousy because the black players did it.
You see how Benjamin did him when he went up to take Benjamin's hand, and Benjamin just walked off? That was jealousy, bro.
Jealousy.
That was a straight up jealousy.
He did RG3 the same way, and it's always jealousy of the quarterback position. For some reason, black quarterback, even by black people, fucking hate it.
It's the leadership. You're in a leadership position.
And they don't like it, bro.
They don't like it. And because even black coaches have came out and said, I have a hard time getting these black players to listen to me, but my assistant white coaches, they do a better job getting them listening to me, period, than I do.
Andrew, why you think that is, man? I know you think a lot, you talk a lot about these type of subjects. I know it's football, but it's the same thing that applies. It's the white
stuff. It applies to a lot of stuff where we've been conditioned to see whites as an authority, and therefore, when they say something, fall in line. And then when we see our own, it's usually either competition or, their position isn't taken seriously. We're both black, so we can talk this way to each other, and we don't have to show each other this level of professionalism and respect that goes along with it, especially in something like that when you have a coach or whatever superior, or even like the black quarterback in the leadership position. So they're going to see it, like you said, it's going to be jealousy, and that coupled with competition goes along with jealousy, of course. And then the whole, we're both the same, so therefore I don't have to fall in line when you say it. You can't really get me in trouble. But when the white person comes around, then they fall in line. But it's like, that's like conditioned, you know, and especially in arenas like that, you know, where there aren't any black owners, there are very few, you know, black quarterbacks and coaches and everything like that. So, you know, you're already kind of low man on the totem pole and kind of, you know, you're an entertainer, and they basically just like, you know, go out and play, you know, so you don't feel like you have, you know, that much power and influence when you actually do.
Because the black quarterback also, I mean, the quarterback period, even if he's not that great, he gets the most attention. Mm-hmm. That's another thing, like you said, that gets his jealousy. Oh, you got the most attention from, it's kind of like, it does kind of like link back to like say, oh, you get the most attention from Massa. Mm-hmm. You get the most attention from Massa.
Listen, when I started paying attention to it, you know, it was RG3. RG3 came in, Heisman, #1, balling. He took Washington from a non-watch team to primetime, bro. They hated him. He went on private flights with the owner, dinners with his wife. They hated him. I'm like, bro, what quarterback who was balling, pro bowler, don't get that experience? All of them do. But because it was RG3, Dante Hall hated him. Everybody on his team hated that guy, bro.
I was surprised that Moss joined in on that. He's usually pretty Santana Moss. Yeah. He's usually pretty quiet and chill, and he on that.
And he didn't drink with them. He didn't party. He didn't do nothing. They called him the cornball. He didn't fit in with the you know, the culture. They hated that guy, bro. It was crazy.
It is crazy. Let's go ahead and mention the fact that I want to give a shout out to the boy Myles Garrett on Cleveland Browns. Even though he got suspended last year, that boy got a 5-year, $125 million contract extension. That's $50 million guaranteed.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. And they hating, bro. Have you seen?
I haven't seen it yet.
Go look at the comments, bro. Go look at the ESPN comments. Ooh, they so bad. Huh? Yeah, that made him the highest paid defensive player in the league.
He deserved it. When he got suspended, the whole team went to shit.
Whole team went to shit, bro. Whole team went to shit. And I still say Myles Garrett. I still say Rudolph said something to him.
I think so too.
I think Rudolph said something to him. I believe him when he said Rudolph called him a nigga.
Yeah, I think so.
A man ain't finna put his career on the line, hitting you upside the head with a helmet just cause.
Yeah.
All right, but I think that's pretty much it, bro. I don't really want to rant on anything right now. I don't really have anything to rant about, to be honest.
It was a good show, though.
It was a great show, man. I'm so happy that the women came on and shared their experience with us. I did want to mention, too, that also men, y'all need to realize that we can also go through postpartum syndrome. They talk about it. And
I thought you were mentioning
it's less of a body chemical thing, more of a depression that's worked up from being a new parent, being a new father, the pressures of being a new father. So if you feel the same things, if you feel the same, if you feel suicidal, if you feel depressed as a man, please go talk to someone. Don't be scared to let someone know, because you got to do what you got to do as a father. Because you never know if you're going to end up being a single father. I mean, all three of us have been in that position, or currently in that position of being a single father. Well, we got to take care of the house. And so we got to be right. It's really, as someone who went through this as depressed, it's really hard to do this as a single father when you're depressed. It's super hard. So it's hard to be a single parent, period, when you're depressed. So and for all the men out there, like I said, don't be afraid to talk to someone. Just like the lady said, get a support group. If you don't really want to go talk to a counselor, get a support group, man. Get your homeboys, get your friends, get your parents. Let them all know what you're going through, and let them know, hey, I may call you at some random time because I'm going to need someone to talk to. All right, folks. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're going to end this a little early tonight. We didn't have a whole bunch of people join us tonight. I think this is a record, an hour and 14 minutes.
It's good, though. I like this stuff.
Yeah, it was a record, man. We got a lot of ladies that commented. I'm sorry I couldn't get to all of your comments. I wanted y'all to call into the BlogTalk Radio show to share your experience.
Hey, Rod,
what's up?
Before we end it, ask the audience, especially the ladies, if they got any other topics they want to discuss. Put them in the comments.
Did y'all hear? So like Antonio said, if y'all got any other comments, We call it's the Distinguished Black Gentleman Show Inc. show, but this is a show for the community. You know, we have no problem including women, children, anyone. This is so we can attack any social or economical issue that is holding us back. Because in my mind, we're at war, and we need to be best prepared to fight this war. All wars aren't fought with guns. All wars aren't fought with knives. All wars aren't fought with your hands. The best wars are fought with your mind. And the war don't end on the battlefield. The war ends at the table when you sit down. And we got to be in a position to where we can sit down at that table. All right. Like I said, if like he said, if you thank you. Nova, she said, great chat. Thank you for that. Thank you for all the women that jumped in the chats, man. We got paragraphs in the chats that I did not get to. I'm sorry about that. Like I said, next time call the Blog Talk Radio Show. We have no problem with putting you on. We'll give you your 5 minutes. We'll be here again next Thursday at 9 o'clock. We're going to keep this thing rolling as much as we possibly can. And like I said, we're always trying to get better, and we are getting better. The screen was actually good today. Well, last week the screen was pretty bad, but the screen looks HD right now.
Started off rough for you, but then
it got a little better. I think last week, because these idiots, when I was a wireman, so I'm looking at these wires that they got the cables running out my building. They just got them running out the cable box.
Oh, you're right.
It rains.
You're right, man.
Yeah, huh?
So you're right.
I'm ranting now. They'll give me into that ranting. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. Talk about colorism.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's deep. Hey, that's a dangerous topic. That's dangerous.
We gotta have the beige one on though for that one. He ain't here. We gotta make sure the beige one on for that one.
Oh yeah. But you know that topic is very important, but it has to be moderated, and that does not end up in a.
We're gonna. Some of the topics we do have to pre-plan so we can actually make sure we got a good approach on them. That's why I said we see I'm pushing more for us to do 2 weeks, 3 weeks out planning. That way we can, making up topics, coming up with the show so we can actually sit down and make sure we come at it correctly. I think we came at this one pretty correct as possible as we possibly can. So we're going to try to keep doing that. Thank you so much for that suggestion. All right, everyone. Y'all have a great night. Y'all have a great week. I'll probably jump in this weekend because I ain't got nothing else to do and do some more updates. Thank you all. Y'all have a great night, and let's continue to build, my people. Peace.
Night.